the front of the house, please get in touch with them individually. The way you can get your answered. They're all very public persons, so it shouldn't be any problem getting the answers you need. If we started getting questions from the crowd, we would be here all day long. So if you will cooperate with me on that one, I'll be a happy camper and won't have to call anybody down. So we're getting ready to start this. I think the best thing to do would be begin with the panel, if you would, ladies and gentlemen. I first have to call this meeting to order, and I need the clerk to call roll, please.
David Hurst.
Here.
Jill Wineski. Here. Vance Williamson. Here. Judy Ward. Here. Willie McGee. Andre Rux.
Here.
Buddy McAdams.
Here.
And Diane Hammond. Here.
I recognize a quorum, and the meeting begins. I don't know where you want to start. I know I've got Dr. Smart, I believe, is on top of the agenda. If you would, when you pick up the microphone, introduce yourself as to who you are and what your particular position is in this event.
Thank you, Mayor Chode, and thank you, members of the City Council. We know you've had a really long day, and we don't want to extend it. We're going to do our best to keep our comments short and get you out of here. But this is a very important issue, obviously, by the size of this audience. It speaks to the importance of this, to the urgency of this, and to the interest of this. So thank you for calling a special meeting. The fact that you do that does speak to the urgency of it. We promised you at your last City Council meeting that we would come with a report on our local hospital, how we're dealing with the issues of rural healthcare and being an independent hospital. That we will do. We also promised that we would come with a solution, a long-term solution for our financial issues here. We have an expert panel for you today. I would like to introduce each one of them. All of them will be passed the microphone to give very brief presentations. I think you've been given an agenda that tells you what each member of the panel will be speaking about. But I would appreciate if you could hold your questions and your comments until all have completed the presentation. So we can make this much briefer. Thank you. My name is Steve Smart. I will be the spokesman for this effort for the next few months. Next to me is Steve Cameron. Steve is the chairman of the board of the hospital locally and of the Sheriff Foundation. Dana Taylor is the president of our local hospital. And Stephen Jones is the chairman and president of our CEO and president of our Chamber of Commerce. Next to me is Brittany Fallon, who is our CEO with the Sheriff Foundation locally and the CFO of our hospital. Matthew Shepard, you all know, is our House of Representatives, Representative and a local attorney here. And next to him is Chris Haggai, who's a member of both the board of directors of the hospital and the Sheriff Foundation. We thank you for allowing us to be here. And with that, I will pass the microphone to Steve Cameron.
Thank you, council members. And I'm like Steve, I appreciate you taking the time and know you had other meetings today. So we appreciate this. Steve and I represented the hospital last week when we met with you, and thank you for granting this meeting. Today, we brought more reinforcements, as you can see. Besides Steve and I, we've got people that are knowledgeable about various aspects of the hospital. We've got people that are knowledgeable about the economy here in El Dorado. We've got government as well as legal people here. So after all that was brought up, all they asked me for is to tell you the same thing I told you last week about how we got here. So South Arkansas Regional Hospital was formed by the combination of the three nonprofits that were managed to acquire the hospital a year and a half ago. It was the Sheriff Foundation, the Murphy USA Foundation, and then the Murphy Family Foundation. And along with some help from the state of Arkansas, we closed on that acquisition of the hospital in June of 23. Is that correct? A year and a half ago. We've accomplished some goals we had. First and foremost was to acquire the hospital from an out-of-state for-profit entity that was quite large, spread over the part of the United States. We, like a lot of rural hospitals that I mentioned last week, have encountered a lot of issues that are very difficult, not unique to this hospital. It's a systemic problem nationwide. And I'll stop there, and I'm going to hand the microphone to Dana Taylor, the president of the hospital, and she's going to speak specifically to those issues, and particularly how they relate to the problems that rural hospitals nationwide have.
Thank you, Mr. Penry, and thank you to the council, not just for today, but for what you do that people don't see for our community. My name's Dana Wagner Taylor. I'm a long-term member of this community. I was actually born in the hospital where I currently serve as president. In addition to my role at the local hospital, I'm the president of the Arkansas chapter of the American College of Healthcare Executives, and I'm very active in our state hospital association and other healthcare groups. So I try to stay very informed, not only of what's going on in rural healthcare, but across the nation. The challenges we have are not specific to us. Unfortunately, the current healthcare system is not conducive to rural hospitals. A change needs to be made federally and at the state level, but we cannot sit back and wait for them to make the change. For the sustainability of our local hospital, we need to take action locally. I don't have time to go into details and explain how our reimbursement works, but we don't just get paid for the price we set. There's payer contracts, insurance plan stipulations, denials, and many, many other variables that actually determine how we get paid. And for every dollar we bill, we get paid pennies. Our reimbursement does not cover the cost of operations. Our hospital building is aging. Our original building was built in 1964. The facility needs critical upgrades, modern diagnostic equipment. Without this, we cannot take care of patients locally. Without investments to our infrastructure and equipment, we cannot recruit and retain the best talent. This is not just physicians, this is nurse practitioners, nurses, physician assistants, ancillary staff, support staff. Predictions are that for every physician that retires, a community will need to recruit 2 to 3 to backfill for their gap. This is because the next generation has higher expectations for a work-life balance, and they're not going to continue to fulfill the same requirement that current community providers do. Recruitment has always been difficult in rural areas, but is more challenging now than it's ever been. Labor costs, including employee benefits, continue to increase. Supply costs continue to rise, including the unknown impacts that we will have from tariffs because we are not immune to those. Regulatory requirements continue to grow, often requiring new equipment and software that is very expensive. Rural hospitals treat high rates of chronic disease, and oftentimes these patients can't travel elsewhere for care. Our community needs our hospital. 32 Arkansas hospitals currently deliver babies for the whole state. Your local hospital is one of those. We serve most of South Arkansas and North Louisiana. We offer the only inpatient behavioral health unit for 90 miles. Across the nation, there is a mental health crisis, and your local hospital is part of the solution. In addition to OB services and mental health, we offer many other services: the emergency department, general surgery, orthopedic surgery, urology, cardiology, advanced clinicians for the inpatient setting. Our community is truly blessed with what we have, but we need the support of this community to keep it sustainable. Thank you. I'm Brittany Snell. I am the Share Foundation President and CEO, but also serve as the hospital CFO. I'm also a lifelong resident of El Dorado as well. So thank you for your time today. As Dana just discussed, healthcare, we have encountered a lot of challenges, not just here, but across America. And with those challenges, they're ahead with a lot of changes. So it's very important that we take our opportunities, and partnerships are extremely important. Partnerships are a plan for long-term sustainability. It's been a focus point for us since the beginning, July of 2023 and prior. we all know we have to partner to sustain. If the city and the community partner with the local hospital on a stable revenue source, we can create a stable foundation. That helps protect our local health care, and that opens the door for opportunities we cannot achieve on our own. So this is a partnership. This would be a partnership, a shared commitment to keep certain services at home, working together to protect something vital, something that every family depends on, that we're very passionate about. And so community supports stability, stability creates opportunity, and opportunity creates a healthier and stronger city. And so I hope you'll partner to allow our community to vote and be a partner in our healthcare.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, thank y'all for the time today. Stephen Jones, I'm the President, CEO of the El Dorado Union County Chamber of Commerce. And I'd just like to point out some economic impact of our local hospital. Our local hospital is one of our largest employers, one of our city's largest employers, with 450 employees. And not to mention 135 of those are contracted employees on top of that. So over 500 jobs right here in El Dorado, with a $25 million payroll applied to those 450 employees, a $5 million benefit package. I mean, I think with those numbers, you see that the hospital really is a cornerstone. It's a driver of our local economy. And then when it comes to development, for future development, for whether it's retention of business here, whether it's going out and recruiting a new industry to El Dorado, the hospital is absolutely critical. The hospital helps to attract talented professionals to El Dorado that do nothing but strengthen our community. And then when communities consider relocation, or sorry, when companies consider relocation, the first thing that they look at is quality of life. And at the very top of that list is healthcare. I can't imagine going out and trying to recruit industry to El Dorado without a thriving hospital. Because those industries, they want to know that the community has a strong, sustainable healthcare system. And it's also essential to retaining the jobs that we already have here locally. For our chamber to carry out a mission of retaining, expanding, recruiting new business, we have to have a thriving hospital. The return on investment of our local hospital is very clear. The jobs that I mentioned, the number of jobs that I mentioned, the economic impact, the money that flows through El Dorado and does not go outside of this community. Reduce travel burdens on our people, our citizens, reduce travel burdens on the families and seniors who deserve care close to home. The return on investment there is very obvious. And, I'm appreciative that we live in a community that is willing to dig into an initiative that will solve a local challenge, because that in and of itself is a highlight. As we recruit new business, we can truly say that El Dorado is a community that invests in itself. So I urge you to support this effort. Thank you.
Good afternoon. As was mentioned, I'm Matthew Shepard, and I'm state representative for District 97, and am appearing here as in my capacity as state representative, and having worked on issues surrounding the hospital for probably the better part of 5 years, going back to what ultimately led to the acquisition of the hospital back in 2023. And I would be remiss at the outset if it didn't acknowledge and thank so many in our local community who have invested significant private funding, as well as the state of Arkansas. We were able to gain the assistance of the state of Arkansas, along with UAMS, to help to make that a possibility and to provide for that acquisition, which was a tremendous step, I believe, in the right direction. But one of the things that I've seen during my time in the legislature, and it became really very apparent during my time as Speaker of the House, is the fact that there is I guess you would consider it a rural healthcare crisis. It's not unique to South Arkansas. It exists across the state of Arkansas and really across our country. And so there are many hospitals that are constantly facing these types of challenges. And there's a constant need to continue to try to work to provide the sustainability to provide the health care that we need in South Arkansas for our families and for all of those who choose to make South Arkansas home. And then, as Stephen touched on, to hopefully make the case that this is the place for people to expand their businesses and ultimately locate their businesses as well. And I feel a little bit, I guess everybody's led up to this about we'd like your support. I guess I get to be the one that dives into the details a little bit. And I've told Don Hale that I feel a little bit like I did when I presented the legislation that allowed for name, image, and likeness in college sports in the state of Arkansas. You know, in a perfect world, we wouldn't be sitting here, but it's not a perfect world. And as I said then, if we want to be competitive, we have to keep up with the times. And by the same token, I think when it comes to healthcare and trying to make sure we maintain a hospital that we can be proud of and that can service our healthcare needs, we've got to try to make sure that we're addressing those needs. And so essentially what has been proposed and would be brought to this group, to the council, is for a 0.5-cent sales tax to support essentially the local hospital. The details of that that are being fleshed out, and I'll walk through kind of how that would take place. I know there's been discussion, it's been written about the potential transaction related to the hospital and Baptist. This proposal is not specific to Baptist. I mean, whether that comes to fruition or not, I think the need is still going to exist and still going to need to be addressed. And this is not a proposal to have money going to necessarily to a private entity. So what I will do is kind of walk you through what the steps of this may look like. We've been in discussions with the Friday firm in Little Rock, who has assisted the council and the city in the past in other similar situations. And they certainly are the experts on this. I'm not an expert on this, but I'll relate what my understanding of the steps would be. And I should also point out that, you know, I touched on the fact that there's been significant private money put into the hospital. There's been state money put into the hospital, but the local community supporting the hospital that's not a novel idea to South Arkansas. We were provided a list. I mean, and unfortunately the font is too small for me to read, but you can see, I mean, there's probably 30 hospitals across the state that receive some form of funding from a municipality or a county. But essentially, the council is somewhat familiar with the process of referring out sales tax proposals to the voters. The first step would be the adoption of a resolution of intent. That would lay out kind of the details of what the intention of the sales tax would be and what that funding would potentially go for. Right now, as I understand it, the hospital itself, the real estate is owned by the county. Even though the actual operations and I guess the buildings are owned by the private entity. But that's one of the things that would have to be looked at. It's kind of there's a number of things that have to happen along the way. So potentially the county would need to convey the hospital over to the city, because if the tax is going to be used to provide for the city tax to be used for these services, then as I understand it, the hospital would need to be on city property. And so that's one of the things that would have to take place. Following that, the board would need to the board of SARH, South Arkansas Regional Hospital, would need to transfer the properties of the hospital that it owns over to the city, and then look at a lease back of those assets. with regard to the consideration, these would be kind of nominal amounts. It would be essentially the county making that transfer. It's not as if the city would be paying to buy that, but make the transfer. And similarly, the SARH would be transferring the hospital over and then leasing it back for a nominal amount. And then, as part of this process, there would need to our proposal is a half cent, but that would be used to generate funds to support the hospital. Again, not for any particular private entity, but would go towards supporting the hospital, particularly related to the city assets. So I mentioned that there would be the resolution of intent, and then ultimately there would be a ordinance that would need to be adopted. There would need to be an election ordinance that would need to be adopted as well. And those ordinances would need to be adopted and then filed with the county clerk by December 23rd. So that's one of the reasons that, as this developed as a possibility over the last few weeks, that was one of the reasons why last week Dr. Smart and Mr. Cameron were here, because time is of the essence. We passed a law in the legislature now that essentially special elections can only take place twice a year, and they're generally held at the time of the primary or the general election, which is the case, will be the case this coming year. And so the election would take place at the time in the spring. If the election is successful, then ultimately those conveyances that we talked about would need to take place from the county to the city, from SARH to the city, and then the city council would need to adopt ordinances accepting those conveyances. SARH would need to enter into a lease, and SARH would need to enter into a lease with the city for the facilities themselves. And so that's kind of the nuts and bolts of what has to take place. I would also mention that I think there will also be an effort at the state level to try to get additional funding for South Arkansas. In the One Big Beautiful Bill, there is $500 million that is allocated for rural health transformation to the state of Arkansas. There could be additional resources, but I just mentioned that because I think when it comes, at least in what I understand and the discussions that I've been a part of, in looking for a sustainable path forward to provide quality health care in South Arkansas, it's going to take a combination of things to hopefully provide that type of sustainability. And one of those things that would be a huge step in that direction would be this half-cent sales tax. So those are the kind of the nuts and bolts. Those would be the steps that would take place. It's a little more involved than maybe other sales tax issues you've taken up because of the ownership issues related to who owns the hospital. Again, though, we have good legal counsel that will be working on those documents. And as we progress, as we prepare a resolution of intent for your consideration or ordinances, we hope to get those things finalized so that you all will be able to take a look at those and have your questions answered.
Thank you, Matthew. My name is Chris Haggai, and as Dr. Smart referenced, my involvement here as a member of the board of SHARE and SARH, the hospital. But again, thank you for today. We heard a little bit about how we got here, what the current state of rural health is, and Matthew's outlined very well what our steps forward are. Should we choose to go forward, which I hope we do. And then they've asked me to kind of talk about what would happen going forward with a campaign to educate the public about this initiative. And Dr. Smart has agreed to lead this charge. He will be the voice and the spokesman for this. With that will come a number of things to help educate the public and raise support. But first, soon after the first year, there will be a series of public meetings where information will be provided. And then there'll be a chance to ask questions as well. There'll be a number of those probably beginning soon after the first of the year. Dr. Smart has made himself available along with others that will be willing to speak to any club, social organization, retired teachers association, whatever it is, to provide additional information Because again, we want everybody to have the accurate information and give them a chance to ask questions. So if we get past this, if you know of somebody or you want to have a special speaker to come, just let us know. We'll make that happen. And then thirdly, we'll develop print material that helps really well get information out there, accurate information out there, with print material that you can use to pass out. And we've already started a list of frequently asked questions that we'll address there as well. They should be very, very helpful. But most important is, as the mayor said, you guys have my number and have all the numbers up here of people that are involved in this. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us individually. Happy to answer any questions that you might have there. Early stages, very early stages, but I want to report to you that in our initial conversations that we've had with people around our community, it's been very positive, and we've been very encouraged. Certainly, there's questions, and we respond to those as we can, but we were very encouraged about the initial responses of the value of healthcare in our community. So, overall, I want you to hear me say that the goal would be to educate everybody with accurate information, make it readily available to everybody that needs it, make ourselves available through a number of media items, and then we'll look for your support. Thank you.
Members of the city council, you've heard our story, and we hope that you understand our message. We thank you for most of you have already pledged your support to this, and we're grateful for that. And on that subject, let me thank the members of the audience as well. Most of these folks are here in support of this, and we're very grateful to have that support and for them to take time out of their schedule as well to be here. Mr. Mayor, if this is convenient for you, we have a panel of experts here, and we'd love to open it up to your council if there are comments or questions to us. We're all there.
Okay, the next step for the council, we would need to pass a resolution of intent for the sales tax. Is that correct, Mr. Shepherd?
That's correct. That's my understanding
Okay.
from the Friday firm is that would be the next step.
Okay, so we would need to ask our city attorney to create such a resolution and bring to a meeting for us to vote.
So we have worked with the Friday firm on some drafts of that we could share, still being kind of hammered out because, as I mentioned, there are some logistical things that have to take place, and when we were gathering some information to confirm details related to ownership and other things, but I anticipate that we would have that draft in the next several days if it's not already ready. It would be very quickly ready and available for the city attorney to review.
Okay, and if that passes, then you can proceed to the clerk's office to start the process. Is that correct?
Well, my understanding is that there would be a resolution adopted, a statement of intent adopted, and then there would be two actual ordinances that would be adopted and then filed with the clerk, and that all that would need to take place by December 23rd. So to me, it sounds as if there are three items: a resolution and two ordinances that would be for the city council's consideration.
Okay, I didn't get the two ordinances, so.
So
Thank you.
the first ordinance is the levy ordinance, and we have a rough draft of that. The second ordinance would be the election ordinance, and we've worked up a draft of that. So those things should be finalized in short order. And the hope would be that the ordinances would be drafted in such a way to provide some flexibility that those funds could be utilized in the best way possible into the future. The last thing you want to do is go through this process and then have limited that use, but to make sure that it is providing the flexibility to be able to address whatever needs may occur in the future. There obviously are legal parameters to that, and that's why so much of this is contingent upon moving those properties over to the city, because this is a city tax that would go for the benefit of what is a city asset.
I have a question. You mentioned about the county giving the property over to the city. Is this something that would have to go before the quorum court to be voted on?
That's a good question. I think I failed to mention. I think logistically, I think the quorum court would also, they would have to pass a resolution or I guess it'd be a resolution, whatever their appropriate documentation would be for them to make that type of conveyance.
Okay.
And you know, I think that what the attorneys have in mind is that essentially you would get all that in order prior to the vote, prior to essentially over the next month, right? And that then, assuming there's a successful vote, once the vote is successful, then that's actually when those transfers would take place.
So they met today, so they won't meet for another month. Are you gonna ask for a special meeting to be called on this?
I would assume that whatever steps need to be taken, I understand some in our group have met at least with the county judge. But I would, whatever needs to happen to make sure it takes place in a timely fashion, I think this group is committed to asking and seeking to have that done.
Okay.
I would recommend we move forward with the resolution and the ordinances.
I agree.
I have a question. I definitely, I know this is, kind of spur of the moment, just kind of propped up on us, but I believe all of us should be in agreement that, we need a hospital and I'm definitely 100% behind it. My only question, or maybe a couple questions, is who regulates the tax? How do we ensure that from a regulatory standpoint that the tax will be distributed properly to the direction it said it will go? Who's monitoring it? Is it us? Is it a different entity? Who would regulate?
I think we have a very bright financial lady.
CFO, right?
So our understanding is that that money would come directly to the city in a city account. And the hospital would submit documentation of spending to the city for reimbursement. And then it would be required to have a single audit annually where everything is reviewed and then reported back to hospital level and city level.
It would have to be maintained in a segregated account,
Yes.
very limited access.
And my other little question, I think Brother Jobs had mentioned that it's relevant 500 jobs, one of our biggest employers. And how many of those jobs are local jobs? I mean, are they local citizens, Virgo County, that live within our county?
Yes, so the 450 are working in our hospital every day. And now some of them are PRN, but they're in and out of our facilities. The 135 contractors, those are on-site contractors. Those are people here doing business. Now we do work with others that are remote, but those aren't in the counts that he gave.
And I did a research on, just to let y'all know, I think it's between 13 and 15 hospitals have already even closed just this year. So I think we do not want to turn our hospital into just a emergency room type setting. Some hospitals already don't go into that, and we don't want that. We really appreciate the services they bring to us. Sometimes you don't appreciate it because it hadn't affect you personally, but trust me, they offer a lot of services, and it's something that we really need to make sure. And I know we just passed the sales tax. I know it's sensitive. Trust me, we feel it because we got to talk to you guys about it. But I'm talking already to my constituent. We're going to get ready to have a town hall meeting. I already talked to Danny. She's going to bring someone over there to our ward to answer questions because I'm definitely not a healthcare expert. But let's get through it together, and but I believe in the overall is what's best for our city. Thank you.
I have one other question. When this tax goes through, when it's approved, do you see, what other services do you see that will be there that we don't have at this time?
So I am a firm believer that my word is all I have. So I'm not ever going to overpromise and underdeliver. Healthcare is very uncertain. And so I can't promise anything will be added right now because of the uncertainty at the federal level. And I'm not sure if anybody understands the reimbursement for hospitals in Arkansas is substantially lower than our surrounding states. So there's work that has to be done at different levels. If we do nothing, if we don't partner with another entity, if we stay independent, if we don't pass a tax, our services will diminish. We will have to cut services. That is why we are looking for opportunities, because we know what we have is working and needed. If we partner with another entity, there's a process to look at. Does the community need it? Is the community willing to get that care here? It doesn't matter if we offer something if people choose to go to Little Rock for it. We have to offer enough of the service so that our staff maintain competent to do it, and we can deliver it in a high quality fashion. And then we have to look at financially. Now there are services we offer that are really just a mission and a service. They don't make money. So I'm not saying if it doesn't make money, it doesn't make it, but there's a series of factors we consider. And those are very much driven by the community, from the local physicians, and then by external factors such as reimbursement and regulations.
I just have a comment, just to say thank you to all of you, because I know this just didn't happen yesterday, and y'all been working on it for a long time. And I appreciate the fact that all of you care. I appreciate the audience. Apparently you care, or you wouldn't be here. And, so just a big thank you, and I am 100% in support of what y'all are doing.
I know if we don't have a hospital, a lot of us won't be sitting here because there'll be so much job loss.
Yes.
A lot of them will have to move. And what would that do to them, right?
Oh, it will not be good.
So, I'm 100%.
I heard a number, and that it's like 90 miles in just about any direction to get to a maternity ward, labor and delivery.
That's true.
And I also heard another number that you're delivering 600 babies a year plus.
And we consistently, we continue in this day and age, we continue to have moms that show up with no prenatal care, no access to care. So we're working on some other collaboratives across the state with UAMS through some things to try to take what we have and figure out how to help regionally. But OB services have been in danger for a long time, but we are committed to keeping ours open.
Mayor, my last thing I'm gonna say, and I just want people in the audience to know that Baptist is a nonprofit entity. It's not for profit. So, and if we as a hospital get up under their umbrella, we're gonna get their gigantic size and operating procedure and efficiency, things that they already bring to the table. So I think it'll be a win-win for us as a community, just letting you guys know that we're not trying to take this tax to increase anybody's pocketbooks. We're really just trying to make sure that we operate from an efficient standpoint. And I just want to let you guys know that even negotiating pay rate, negotiating and reimbursement, all of those things fall up under the umbrella. And Ms. Stanley, we think we had about a 45-minute hour conversation the other morning, and she answered all of my questions, and I was pleased with the results of it. Matthew answered a lot of my questions. So thank y'all. Really understand that this is really a benefit to us getting up under that umbrella. Thank you.
Is there anything else from council members? Okay. As I said earlier, ladies and gentlemen, these people have made themselves available. We got a big atrium out here. They have to walk right by you to get out of the room. So at this point in time, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And we are adjourned. And ladies and gentlemen, there are your experts. Thanks very much for being here.